I'm your host for today, Nick James. Albert Ramos is currently out, and we have our co host, Jason Hess. So let's jump right in. Today, here's what's on the agenda. Today, we'll be talking about harnessing AI for enhanced decision making. Then, we'll be talking a little bit about the HIMSS conference, HIMSS 25, and how AI is completely changing healthcare. We'll touch on the revolutionizing retail for AI. There's a number of really great use cases we have, and then we'll close it out. We'll spend a bulk of our time talking about how we can use AI for enhanced decision making, but there are a number of different facets which actually mirror a lot of what we talk about in the AI adoption and management framework. And we'll cover things like AI model management and monitoring, workforce skills gaps, alignment of business and IT, data consistency, cost, and interoperability issues. Well, Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, no, so this is a great resource for people. It's another perspective to be able to understand the challenges that it does take to adopt AI. I think, the first one that they call out is the model management. And, we see this every day. People think that they can just put in their model and it'll just know everything about their company. And there's a lot of training and fine tuning to be able to learn about your company. If you think about it, if you bring in an intern or a new employee, how long does it take for them to get up to speed? You can't expect a model to be able to
That's
understand
right.
your company without that type of knowledge. So I think it's a great one to call out as the first challenge is managing people's expectations.
Absolutely. I think, and that was a big reason why White Glove AI created Lucidus in the very first place, right? Because we were having our clients throw at us, I mean, all sorts of documentation from pay scales that were really hard to comprehend. I mean, I didn't even understand how humans comprehended those the pay tables, to highly decorative, marketing PDFs to benefits guides that had tables embedded inside of PDFs, but in a very decorative manner. So it doesn't follow normal table structures. So AI gets really confused. So
Right.
I think there's from a model management standpoint, before we even start thinking about the models, we got to think about our data, right?
Yeah, and that's what one of the fourth major topic was data consistency, and that's most organizations struggle with that because you've got data scattered around in different databases. Each part of your business has their own data store and where they're storing data. So having that consistency is not there. So as you're starting to begin your journey of how I'm going to get into AI, how I'm going to use it, that data consistency and data management is a huge step. And that's where we've seen a lot of struggles and a lot of where people are spending a lot of time to be able to start doing that. So make sure you're taking your time, understanding your data, getting it into a consistent format, get rid of the silos within your organization. Data silos kills AI innovation.
Yeah. And then another big thing is version control, right? You don't it doesn't know that, Jessica just updated this version of the document, changed like 10 words, and all of a sudden now it's a version up, but she never actually versioned it. And so it grabs that document and now there's a full duplicate except for the 10 words in that document. You want to talk a little bit about version control?
Yeah, version control is huge. And even, when you get into a large organization and you start putting documents out there, knowing what's reality and what was a strategy that was never implemented, that was something that was always hard in large organizations, is that version control. And when it's decided when we're going to, this is our gold image, being able to version that every time it's updated, but then you get clones upon clones upon clones and you really have no idea what's going on. So having that gold data and editing and doing version control on that gold data. And this is what's done in software engineering. And this is where business has to adopt to that. You can't just make a clone of a work document, a PDF, and then make your own changes to that to be able to pitch to yourself and not have version control. So like these are some of the challenges that software engineering has already resolved that the business needs to catch up on.
I think that's where like that was some of the foundations of GitHub, right? Was code
Exactly.
version control. Yeah. Great. So let's talk about model management. what are we considering here? Like, what are the top questions? Is it public versus private? Where's our data going? What's the data sensitivity, right?
Yes, yeah, I think that's probably the first decision that you need to make when you're deciding on models is do you want to have the models public or private? Having it private provides you a lot more security around that, that data is not getting outside of your four walls of your environment. But it also does come with a cost because now you need to manage all of the cloud infrastructure, the on prem infrastructure. You've got to do all of the training where you can't outsource that from a model provider. So there are pros and cons to each, and each organization has to make that decision of which way is the best way for them.
I like to look at model segregation, kind of like how we look at prison levels. Like you have like the really easy prison that Martha Stewart went to versus like Gitmo, right? It's like on an island. So there are very extreme versions of fully private, meaning you have your own server, you have an open source model, you deploy it on there, and you manage it. It literally has no connection to the outside world. Whereas there are lesser forms of private instances where you're using models that are managed and hosted as private and single tenant by the hyperscalers. So we're talking about AWS has Bedrock, IBM has the Watson X platform, and they have their own Granite models that you can use, or you can use any other open source model, even DeepSeek, for example. So there are different. Think there's a spectrum of private. Would you agree?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not a one size fits all. You have a vast amount of opportunities that best fits your organization. And that's where, we can come in with our virtual chief AI officer offering to be able to help go through those pros and cons and be able to identify what is the right solution for your organization. You want to start talking about some
Absolutely.
of the
Let's talk
my
about
favorite
monitoring.
topic.
Yeah, yeah. Monitoring is a big part because now we need to make sure that it's doing right because at the end of the day, we're automating a lot of things using AI because it understands context and it can be more opportunistic than deterministic workflows, right? Like of RPA, right? Robotics process automation of the past. So when we have this kind of non-deterministic automation, we need to be able to monitor and make sure that the agents are making the right decisions and making the right actions. So let's talk a little about that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one of the key things to be able to do that, and we've laid a lot of that out in our AI adoption management framework of how you need to start thinking about your systems, understanding your workflows, understanding your processes, and be able to then start figuring out, okay, here's the agents that we want to use, here's the technology stack we want to use. So there's a lot of system engineering and system architecture that needs to take place as you're starting this planning process. It's not just we've got a great tool, let's go ahead and implement it. There's a lot more that goes into that process, and that's where having strong partners there to help you, having strong solutions architects is a critical role within the organization to make sure that you're designing this effectively.
And then I think monitoring comes in a few forms, right? So you have egress and ingress for those traditional CIOs out there, meaning what's going out and what's coming in. So, and that's at the perimeter. Although there is no perimeter now, right?
Right.
We leverage sort of zero trust controls to make sure that we have access control checkpoints at every layer, since we don't have sort of a wall or perimeter around our network anymore because of our remote workforce. So, how do we monitor unauthorized use of AI tools? Right. That's one form of monitoring. The next form of monitoring is how are we monitoring the behavior of our models, our agents, and how our users are interacting with the models. That's another point of monitoring. A big buzzword that you'll hear, I would say there's two. There's observability. I know there's a few startups doing a really lot of good work out there around observability, meaning being able to real time observe what's happening what decisions your agents are making, and then there's explainability. You'd also use sort of interchangeably with transparency.
Right. Yeah, we got a few comments in there. So Greg, who's the CEO of Snowfire, who we recently connected with and who has a very, very cool product, he said that, it's all about innovation, and you've got to be able to figure out ways to manage your models and be able to get the best things for your enterprise AI foundation. So there is a lot of work. I look forward to having a conversation with Greg on the podcast soon. Really cool things, some of the great experiences. So love to give a shout out to Greg, as well as Dr. Donnie is amplifying the AI AMF and where people can go ahead and find that. But one of the next challenges I've
And that
thought
can be
about,
found.
because it is a passion for me, is the workforce skills gap.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
what what's your feeling about how we can start building out this AI literacy across organizations and just across humanity?
Number one, I'm a big fan of what Singapore did, so I'm going to use that as sort of a model example. If you're, I believe the age number is 40, the threshold. If
Yep.
you're above 40 years old, you are automatically qualified for a reskilling, retooling program. Singapore's always been innovative like this, so I'm not surprised, but I would love for other countries and even private organizations to model that. I'm not saying they're I'm not saying to apply any sort of ageism or but we have to understand that the longer someone has been at one company, the longer they have only looked at their world through those lenses. So creating programs internally is ultra necessary because before they know it, their their job's going to be automated, and you're going to be in a reactive state, and a lot of the times those reactions are to just cut that role. What
Right.
do you think, Jason?
Yeah, no, I have a passion for, workforce
Yeah.
education and being able to help people understand why this matters. And this is why I love this show, because we can start helping people understand why AI matters. And this is going to allow you to be much more productive. Having that assistant that's there, but understanding how to ask the right questions to get the most optimal results. That's where I've seen over my years of showing and teaching people AI is they get writer's block when they get to a prompt or get to asking questions. They're like, ask a question, oh, it didn't give me the right response, and they just give up on it and don't think that it's a valuable tool. But there's more to it, and this is where we spoke yesterday, which was a great event.
Yeah.
Going to Anna
Perfect.
High School took a little bit for us to figure out how to talk to 17 and 18-year
You
olds.
were really good, by the way.
But we spoke to the North Texas workforce team, and they're struggling with the same problem. We've got to be able to start providing that AI literacy so that everyone has the skills of how can I use AI to improve my resume? How can I use AI to do X? And we do it every day and it comes natural to us, but we've got to remember, what it was like back in December of 2023 when ChatGPT came out and we started asking questions. We did not become expert prompt engineers and be able to build out agents on day one. It was an iterative process. It was a consistent process that every day I would go in and ask different questions, some work related, some personally related, and you get more out of it. But it takes that consistency to build in that mental memory to be able to get the most out of it. And there's nothing you can break. You cannot break these chat models. And by asking questions, you'll get better information. You'll get more optimal results, and then start crafting different questions and getting more to it. So I think the more you use it, the more you'll get comfortable with it, and the more you'll find value of what you can build on top of it.
Yep. A huge shout out to teachers like Mr. Theodore Mackey III at Anna High School.
Oh,
or
he
Anna
runs it.
ISD. He's awesome. He embraces it. We work with him very closely, and I encourage all teachers to follow Doctor, or sorry, not Doctor. I keep wanting to call him Doctor, Mister Mackey, Theodore Mackey the third on LinkedIn. He's just an absolute gem, and he sees what's coming in the future, and he is taking the right steps and actions to make sure his students are exposed to the right technology so they're prepared for their AI augmented workforce, right? And when they jump into the workforce, they know how to use these tools that are already going to be present in their work environment. So, a huge shout out to him.
Yeah. Well, what a
Let's
great
jump.
program.
Just
Like just learning some of the things, like they've got, computer science courses. They've got an entire team that does
I wish
podcasts.
I
Like,
had that stuff,
I
man.
mean, I was learning typing in class.
We got kids podcasting now. That's amazing. Anyway, we there's so much more we could say. It was an amazing time we had yesterday. Thanks for bringing that up, Jason. If you want to see any pictures from yesterday, just check out my LinkedIn profile. We had a great time. Thank you to NISD for hosting us. Let's move on. This is a really great report, folks. I would love for you to go check it out.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
I think there's a lot there. I think in the future we'll talk more about the cost and the cost of AI that people are not assuming. They think it's just a cost benefit, but there is a cost to be able to doing that, and we'll talk more about that because I think it awards its own section because there's a lot to it to unpack and
Yeah,
uncover.
and that document was generated by Nutanix, by the way. So thank you, Nutanix. Very informative. All right, let's move on. Healthcare, HIMSS. We talked a little bit yesterday about healthcare, I believe.
Yeah.
HIMSS is, and Daniel Valencia, our Chief Information Security Officer, is out at HIMSS 25 right now. So he's getting the live download. Hopefully, we can have him out, next week on the show, right?
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great to get Daniel to come sit down, chat with us. What did he learn? What were the new innovations that didn't make the news that he's excited about of how people in healthcare are thinking about that? So it's a great conference. Every day there's a lot of great nuggets of what they're thinking and how they're talking about transforming the clinicians' work to the healthcare cost and being able to drive that down by using AI. So there's a lot of good things coming out of this conference. So looking forward to getting a debrief from Daniel of what he saw that wasn't in the news.
Yeah, absolutely. I think let's just wait until Daniel gets back and tells us about. It kind of has this like CES feeling, so I'm really
Yeah.
excited to hear what he has to share with us. Let's jump into retail. Retail is, I think, kind of quiet, and me and my family have been a long time fan of Aldi's. Now I believe owns Trader Joe's, or Trader Joe's owns Aldi's. But anyway, they're always doing things very differently than their peers. Let's talk about what Aldi's is doing.
Yeah, so Aldi's just released that they are jumping into the AI innovation, and they've got a project called One Platform that's going to be helping them in. Their first phase is going after SEO and being able to improve their search engine optimization for their products, making sure that there's no discrepancies with that, as well as making all of their product offerings multilingual. So anytime you're searching the newsletter for Aldi's and what's on sale, you can be able to swap between languages, which is a easy thing that AI provides and helps you with, and it really gets to your customers. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to always put that in native English for everyone. Now you have the option to easily transform. I want it in Vietnamese, or I want it in Chinese, and you're able to get it in the format that's easiest for you to read, where you feel the most natural. So I think this is going to be huge for Aldi's, and it's a great way to show, because people struggle like, how is retail going to improve with AI? And this is an easy example of a common problem that everyone has. If you're not a native English speaker, how do I read the advertisements for Aldi? Now you have the ability to do that without having to get a third party app to be able to translate for you.
Yeah, I've always been super excited about this space. Retail has so much it can work on, and I think that there's this concept that was brought alive probably in the past 20 years, and it might be older than that. It's called omnichannel. Okay, because as the internet came about and retailers started to put their presence online and started to make their inventory available for shopping online, there was a disconnection between the digital real estate or the digital environment of that retailer. Let's pick Dick's Sporting Goods for example. They have a very large digital online presence, and I don't know what their numbers are for the revenue they make off their website, but then you go into the store. Wouldn't it be beautiful? And that's the concept behind omnichannel, is to be able to create a seamless experience regardless of what channel your customer is on, right? So, wouldn't it be amazing to be able to take a conversation or a chain of thought that happened on the internet in the comfort of your customer's home and bring that experience while retaining memory of what happened online and bring that into the store. So, do you want to talk a little bit about AI avatars, Jason?
Yeah, we have a service offering for AI avatars, and these are interactive avatars that you can interact with and have a full conversation and be able to do this. So we're working on a pilot that we're not going to share the details yet until we get it, so that we can send you to the right location. But it's going to start changing how people interact, and you no longer need to have those waypoint markers or things like that. You can now have an avatar that you can talk to. You can learn more about a space or the history of this building and be able to get more information that's much more um, tailored to you. And I think this is where AI really is going to help people. It's going to give you tailored information specifically for you. You don't have to get, what a marketer decides you want. You can get it how you want the information. So we've starting that process, and there's a lot of really cool opportunities of where you can have personalized communication with an avatar that has that same look and feel of a person that you're want, or we can use stock avatars to be able to do that if you don't want to do that. So there's
Yeah.
the Nick
Here's my
James
twin.
Dick's Sporting Good employee avatar.
What do you got to say about that, Nick?
Hey there. I didn't catch that too well. I'm not quite sure what you mean. Are you asking about avatars in the store or something else related to Dick's Sporting Goods? Let me know.
Hey, there's two of me. See you later, buddy.
And the
If
technology is getting so good. I know Albert had this idea when we first started talking about, what we're going to do with the AI executive. And when one of us weren't here, we were going to get a digital twin avatar. And like we said
Yeah.
when we first started, like right now they always want to talk, so they'd always be talking over us. But I think as we've been talking to some of the vendors, we may be able to stop them and only ask them an opinion, and turn them back on. So we may have an episode that we get a digital twin, and we'll let the audience determine which person was the digital twin. And
Who's real? Who's real? I think everybody in our company is going to have a personal digital twin.
yes,
I'm so excited.
I'm looking forward to the Dr. Donnie twin.
Yes, absolutely. He's going to have a monocle. He has to have a monocle on and a pocket watch. Anyway, that's how I imagine Dr. Donnie in a movie. So let's talk about avatars and let's talk about the retail experience. So here's the idea behind this. Okay, you're in a store, right? Let's say you're looking at three high price ticket items. There are just three different models of the same sort of major model, right? Let's call it treadmills. Okay, there's one that's $800, another one that's I don't know $1,000, another one's 1,300. They all kind of look the same, and you want to make a decision. You came to pick up cleats for your son's, soccer season. But you're like, well, I promised myself for New Year's resolutions that I would lose some weight, and I would buy a treadmill. And so now you're in a spontaneous buying this like moment, and you cannot find anybody to help you make a decision. So what do you do?
Yeah,
What do you do, Jason?
that's. I mean, I'm not sure many people are impulse buying treadmills, but I definitely see where that would like. I think the use case I always struggle with is in Home Depot or Lowe's. Like that is just a chasm of
Yeah,
like
that's
aisles
another good
that
one.
no matter
Yeah.
if you which store you go to, it's always different and you can never find anything. I would love an avatar to help me navigate, stop making me wander around. Like, is it aisle 17? Is it aisle 53? Like having that be able to navigate you and be able to give me, okay, here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Which one of these nuts would solve that problem? So
And,
yeah, I
and
see lots
it
of
can
retail.
start in your home, right?
Yeah,
Like you can say like, okay, here's a picture of the problem I'm having. Maybe something's broken,
yeah,
right? It'll be like, okay, I identified the part. It's in this aisle. Um, let's go get it, bring it back, and I'll help you install it. Imagine having like
yeah,
a
yeah.
handy person, right on your phone, and it's paid for, and obviously it helps incentivize sales from companies like Home Depot and Lowe's.
Right.
Anyway, there's so much more we can talk about. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We do like to keep this short and sweet. So you're sipping your coffee, you're driving to work. I was talking to Chris Lee yesterday. He's like, every morning I drive to work. He said, I'm listening to the AI executive. That just warms my heart. That was the full intention of the morning buzz. We're missing you, Albert. Hopefully everything's going well. Jason, any last words before we sign off for the day, and
No,
we'll show
I
back
think
up tomorrow.
the future, after spending a couple hours with some 17 and 18-year-olds, I do feel the future is bright. They 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 may not have the same titles that we have. They're going to get, but there are a lot of really talented individuals that we had the opportunity to speak to that are motivated and looking to make a difference in the world. So, looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But again, they're curious and they're wanting to contribute to society, and they realize that AI is a way to help them do that.
Beautiful. There is hope for the future, folks. All right, that's it for today on the AI Executive Morning Buzz. Huge thanks to Jason. Once again, we miss you, Albert. And really, I mean, the topics are just getting more fascinating and fascinating. So as we always say or sign off, I want you to stay curious, stay innovative, and we'll see you every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time sharp. Have a great day.